Good evening, listeners. Get ready for a wonderful, wonderful basketball story about a family just fell in love with basketball, and the family name is the Hamiltons. Out of Berkshire County, Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and this family left their mark on basketball. The matriarch of the family, Maud Rogers Hamilton, had five children. The oldest, Albert, Edith, Norma, May, and Pauline. And little do they know they were going to change the history of Berkshire County basketball. So sit back and enjoy this wonderful story of Hamilton's loving basketball in Berkshire County, Pittsfield, Massachusetts. All right, starting for the Hamilton family, we're going to break down each branch of the family and the players. Starting with Edith, Bobby, Roger, and Rodney Hamilton, Lloyd Nolan, Tyrone Gatson, and Damian Hamilton. Next, the Norma branch of the family, Noel Richardson and Troy Robinson. The next branch of the family, May Dillard, Tony and Brett Jackson, Troy Anthony Tut Johnson, and Brandy Bird. These players left their mark on Berkshire County and basketball in general. Players played for Taconic Braves, St. Joe, BCC, Western Carolina, AIC, the Boys Club, the YMCA, Pitt Park. The list goes on. So sit back and learn about this family and their love for basketball. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And we're going to break down the West Side family basketball of the Hamiltons, starting out with Bobby and Roger Hamilton, and then moving on to Tony and Brett Jackson. And then we have Lloyd, Troy, and Tyrone. And then we're going to end it up with Tut and Damien. So my name is Tony Jackson, and I'm here with my cousins and my brother.
This is Lloyd, cousin. Troy, brother. What's up, brother?
So we're going to bring our recollections of the Hamilton basketball history to the West Side. And I'll start first with Roger and Bobby Hamilton. So my first recollection of Bobby was he was real smooth. He basically was the premier point guard. He would make sure that he was setting everybody up, doing what he was supposed to do. Um, Phenomenal. He was so smooth. When he dunked, he didn't make any noise. It was just the ball went through the net without making any noise. And I'm like, wow, that Bobby's real smooth. And then Roger, on the other hand, I nicknamed him the West Side Jordan because Roger could do it all. He could shake you. He could bake you. He could dunk on you. He played above the rim. In school, we used to watch videos of Taconic basketball, and they would show Roger playing, and he would shoot on the way up, on the way down. He had moves he didn't even know he had, and it was always great to watch Roger. I watched him play in the park. I wanted to be like Roger. I even wore his number 23 at JVs.
All right, so this is Lloyd, and my stories for Bobby and Roger are that I saw them as two totally different types of players. And so for Bobby was like smooth jazz. It was like effortless playing for him. And watching him play, going up and down the court, couldn't even hear a sneaker squeak on the court. He's making all of these ridiculous passes and setting people up. It was just like smooth jazz, like it was just effortless. I don't even think Bobby sweated. It was just so smooth. And Roger was the exact opposite. Roger was like funk, like George Clinton type funk, where he would come in and tell you what he was gonna do and then do it, and you couldn't stop.
Good.
He would tell you I'm gonna dunk on you. He would tell you I'm going left. He would tell you I'm pulling up.
Right.
And you couldn't stop it. And he was just amazing. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to go to Taconic was to be like Roger. And Bobby was good. They were both good. They were just different. It was like
Right.
jazz and funk, and I loved them both.
No doubt.
All right, my recollections of Bird. That's how I always know Bobby as Bird and Roger. I never really, I don't think really got to see them play in high school because I was a little younger. But they were already neighborhood legends back then. Like Bird was always just Mr. Smooth. I never even really heard Bird talk much, but he always seemed to make his point,
Yeah.
get his point
That's a good
across.
point.
And Raj, I just remember him going to North Carolina, and I thought like that's what like ball is all about. Like you can go to college. You're right. He was like the neighborhood Jordan. That's the way everybody viewed him. It was like, yo, you got a ball like Roger. You want a
Right.
ball. You want to get up out of here, get out of Pittsfield,
Yep.
get to college and do something. You got a ball like Roger. So I got to see them play in the parks.
Right.
Pitt Park.
What I remember about Bobby and Roger is just hearing stories from the older fellas in the neighborhood about Bobby with his smoothness, Roger just being just a straight baller. I never got to see him play, but I heard millions and millions of stories of how great they were and how cool they were. Plus, they were my cousins, so I always looked up to them for that. You know, in the family, could ball their asses off. And that's about it. Great stories about them.
All right, so Tony and Brett were closer in age to me, so I got to see them play a little bit more. And what was what was amazing about it was to see Tone with the afro. And I remember Roger and Bobby had afros too, but Tone going up and down the court with the afro and just pulling. Because I don't remember seeing him in high school, but where I remember seeing him was at the gathering. And they because they were closer to age than me, I would see Tone and Brett play, and I'd be like, "Yep, that's gonna be me one day. I'm gonna carry on the legend." And I would see them running up and down the court and winning the gathering championships and seeing, and I was just like biding my time because I was like, I'm gonna be out there one day. Just watching my older cousins play, I'm gonna be out there one day.
Okay, Tony and Brett. Well, being my brothers, there was always the at-home basketball competitions, even with socks and laundry hampers. So I always looked up to them. And to play for Taconic, and following their footsteps was a big deal for me. I wanted to show that I could do. So Tony being the oldest brother, I always wanted to follow his footsteps. He was a little quieter than Brett. Brett was more Mr. Flashy, but Brett could also hit that jumper in your face, and he let you know about it. Like a lot of the trash talk you see today out in the NBA, I used to see that on a regular basis when my brothers were playing. So one of the things I really wanted to do was make Taconic, get my green and gold, be a member of the club. Um, yeah, that's what I remember at this point.
Tony and Brett. Well, I never got to see Tony play or Brett play, but Brett being my closest brother, I used to hear the stories, and boy, did he talk shit to everybody. I mean, Brett with his mismatched socks, mismatched sneakers, he would just pop mess to anybody, and he had that deadly jumper, and he like Troy said, he let you know he was gonna put it in your eyeball.
He used to
And
say eyeball.
and Tony, I remember seeing his name in the paper a whole bunch of times. My mom would say the articles and stuff. But Brett would come home and tell you what he did, so you didn't have to wait for the newspaper the next day because you already knew. And I think everyone in the neighborhood knew when Brett played.
Yeah.
So that's my memories of them too. I mean, I wish I could have seen them all play, but I was a young buck
You
then.
got time to look back.
So that was Tony and Brett. We got a couple other little suggestions here. sort of, I can't do myself, so I'll just do Brett real quick. My brother Brett. Wow. What can I say? I've seen a lot with him.
Well,
Well, my name is Ron. I'm married into the family. I married Marla, and she told me a story about Brett when they caught a picture of him dunking, and after that picture was taken, you couldn't tell that man nothing. He was the man. And no matter what happened, he could always refer back to that picture to say, "This is who I am." So that's what I remember about Brett.
Thanks for sharing that story, Ryan. Um, that was the Skyline Dunk, which won our 2018 Westside Legends Slam Dunk Contest. If you missed it, you can go back on the group page and check it out. My cousin Lloyd's got something else to add.
Yeah, I just want to loop back to something that Troy was saying because I was close enough in age to Tony Bird where I could have competed with him. I thought anyway. But Troy talked about the games that they had at the house and with the socks and the laundry stuff. And I could have gone over to their house to play, but Hannibal prevented all of that. There was no way I was going to their house with Hannibal there. So I just wanted to share that little bit.
That's another West Side legend. We're going to do the Dogs in the Hood, and I'm pretty sure Hannibal will be at top of the list. So keep that in mind and look forward to that. So that was Tony and Brett at Taconic. So just to recap, we did Roger and Bobby, which were the first brother pair, and then we did Tony and Brett, all Hamiltons. And now we're going to get on to what I like to say, the Fab Four: Troy, Tyrone, and Lloyd. Legendary stuff coming up. So here we go with their stories.
All right, so this is Lloyd, and I'm gonna do my cousins, I guess. So for me, with Troy, Johnson was always playing with him up until we got to high school, and then playing against him when he was at the Conic and I was at St. Joe. And I didn't really like playing against Troy. And it was mostly because Troy did all of the dirty work. He worked hard. He got the rebound. He was the one that would set that cousinly pick and knock you off the ball. And that, it was just hard playing against him. And I had to exert, more energy than I wanted to playing against Troy because he was that type of player. He's like the Dennis Rodman of the neighborhood. And for Troy Robinson, I didn't meet and play with him until I got to high school. And for me, I didn't even know we were at St. Joe together, and I didn't even know he was there until I just walked down the hall one day, and I was like, Troy, what's up, cuz?
Wow.
And Troy was a ridiculous athlete. Not only did he play basketball, but he played soccer, he played football, and he was great at all of them. And just much respect to my cousin Troy. Rest in peace, Troy. And for Tyrone, Clubber Lang, Gadsden. This was Ty was my measuring stick. He was the one that could do anything. He was strong. He had these monster hands, and he could palm the ball so early, and so and he had real skill
Yes.
at the game. And the only way I was able to really compete with him because I didn't have the skill that he had in high school was to outwork him.
Right.
And that's how I was able to match up with him was I had to outwork him. But that boy was ridiculous. And again, rest in peace to Clubber Lang. I miss him.